Welcome to Discovery and welcome to another episode, and we got another big week for you this week, and honestly I cannot wait. So let's get on with the singles I heard this week. But first of all, let's kick off with some black metal, and it's Welkin Conquest. This band has a straight up fiery, inferior melodic tone. It's got an infectious melodic guitar riff throughout the song. The song's about 9 minutes, and this album will be released on June 20th, and honestly I cannot wait. It's a black metal song through and through with some really nice infectious guitar riffs along with blast beats throughout the song. Awesome atmospheric vibe. His vocals are very intense as well, and it's such a really enjoyable song. I love how the mix is very balanced, where you can hear some really nice guitar work, especially throughout a really somber part of the song. I think everyone will actually enjoy this song, even though they may not like black metal. His vocals, on the other hand, are really good. I love his intense range, his dynamic range at times, and he's got that shrieky black metal tone that we all love. Next is Raven Throne Viartańnie, if that's how you pronounce it. This is a brutal black metal song. There's some crazy transitions throughout the song. This is a band from Belarus, and Belarus black metal, they do it right. And it's quite intense blast beats, guitar driven as well. The overall mixing is very good on this song. It's a lot better than Welkin Conquest, and you can actually hear every single instrumental. It's like the drums are very impactful and punchy, and they do it on purpose because this is a very brutal song, and his vocals are intense as anything. It's such a really cool song to bang your head with. Next is WARKINGS Warriors. We are warriors, warriors, dragons of the night, riding with the thunder side by side. This is a very melodic song. This is a power metal song through and through, and I really love the music video. So like you have actually got Spartacus, you actually got Sparta drumming. It's absolutely just an absolutely chaotic music video, and in the end it's all about vampirism and everything like that. So overall it's a really cool power metal song. I really enjoy his vocals throughout this song, not to mention a really nice quick guitar solo that escalates the song to the next level. You can incorporate elements of speed metal and thrash metal throughout this song, but overall it's a really fun and enjoyable song to really bang your head along to. One thing is maybe the chorus is slightly weak. I feel that it should have been a stronger chorus throughout the song just to intensify the song into the next level. And finally, to end off the singles I've heard this week is Night Demon, Are You Out There? Darling, come home. From the dark, that's your own. This song is a heavy metal song through and through, and I really enjoy Johnny. Oh, I love it. So this is a really cool song. Now overall the mixing is really good. It just really sounds like old 80s heavy metal, old 80s and 90s heavy metal. This is a really good band. I checked out the EP as well, and I was very impressed with the EP, which was released this week. Very enjoyable song, really nice guitar solo, some really nice riffrages throughout the song. His vocals are very good as well. So I really enjoyed Night Demon, Are You Out There? And that's where all the positivity ends. And this is where all the negativity begins. So next, we are doing the albums I've heard this week. So first of all, it's ALUKAH Descending. This is a deathcore album. Now, the first half of this album is very good. The second half of the album is, it's fine. This album's fine. It's boring. This album is just boring. Maybe the first 2-3 songs, the album is okay. The album is intense. There are some really nice breakdowns, some nice guitar moments. His vocals are intense as anything. But that's all. That's it. That's all I can say. It's a fine album. It's a boring fucking album. That's for sure. It's a deathcore album. You want deathcore to be very intricate. You just don't want the same old fucking breakdowns over and over again. To be honest, I didn't feel connected with this album. That's why I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 10. So then we move on to 16, Dream Squasher. This is a sludgy, doomy sort of album, and you think I'd like it. Well, it's an okay album, I guess, but you know what? They incorporate elements of mathcore, hardcore punk throughout this album that just doesn't really grind with me. It's not doom, it's very sludgy. There are some good songs on this album, don't get me wrong. Maybe the first half of the album is okay. Second half is, yeah, that's all I can say. Again, it's a very disappointing album in my opinion, and I just feel that 16 Dream Squasher could have done a lot better, like maybe throw in a guitar solo now and again and incorporate more elements of songwriting throughout this album. But I just felt pretty bored listening to this album. This album didn't really gravitate towards me. That's why I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 10. Then we go on to one of the better albums of this week, and it's Current, The Way It Ends.
Always in the dark, so you hide your face. I just love your listening as you walk out on the.
This is a deathcore band, but they incorporate elements of metalcore and hardcore as well. This album is a lot more softer, especially throughout some of these songs. You get ballads, you get some clean vocals, and I believe the singer's from Shadow of Intent as well, which is another deathcore band, which is a really good deathcore band. A lot better than ALUKAH, that's for sure. Current had a really positive moment for me because I actually really enjoyed this album.
Abandoning your foes, believing every lie. The flag you sit down, I'll defend with my life. Sway!
To say this could actually make it to my top 10 of June is an underestimate, because maybe this will make it into my top 10 of June. But at the moment, Current's The Way It Ends, this album's going to grow on me, so I will give this a 6.5 out of 10. Now we move on to The Ghost Inside, the self-titled album, one of the most overhyped, one of the most hyped albums of the year, the big release.
Fuck this! Fake sympathy! You're everything I despise! Disappear!
How did this album pan out for me? To be honest, it was generic metalcore. It's generic metalcore. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone says this is a masterpiece. Fuck off, it's a masterpiece. This is generic metalcore in my opinion. Okay, the lyrics are very strong indeed. You can feel a lot of emotion throughout some of these songs, but the guitar riffs are generic. The breakdowns are generic. There is a lot of breakdowns throughout this. I've heard a lot better metalcore albums this year, like Polaris and even Bleed From Within. That was a fucking great metalcore album. This album is just a slight disappointment. And don't get me wrong, it's a good album. It's a very good album. It's a good generic metalcore album. But yeah, I still was a little bit disappointed. Aftermath is a good song. Pressure Point's got a really good, catchy, hooky chorus. Nice breakdowns. But throughout some of these songs, you're like, I want to listen to something else. I want to listen to like Black or Doom or Death, not this shit. So with The Ghost Inside, I will give this a solid 5 out of 10. So now we lead on to End, Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face. This is like a supergroup band, and this is like a grindcore album, and this is a brutal grindcore album. Reminds me of Napalm Death, if I could say that. We're talking about the Code is Red, Long Live the Code era of Napalm Death. It's brutal. It's a really nice transitional time sequence throughout this album. His vocals are intense as anything. Some really nice guitar moments. At times they sound like a Nal Nathrak. At times they sound like Napalm Death. It's a very enjoyable album. It's really, really intense as anything. I actually really enjoyed it. This is definitely not for a beginner that really likes extreme metal. This is a good extreme metal album, but I've heard better extreme metal albums. But on the fence here, and Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face certainly has its moments of surprises, and certainly has a moment of disappointment, in my opinion. Songs that should have moved up to the next level didn't move up to the next level and didn't satisfy my metal platter. So with Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face, I will give this a 6 out of 10. So now we move on to, well, the best album of this week. We're talking about Death Courier, Necrotic versus... like death metal, you're gonna fucking well love this. If you like bands like Cannibal Corpse, Pestilence, or anything like that, you're going to really love Necrotic Versus. There are some really nice melodic parts. The riffs on this album are fantastic. The vocals are intense as anything. Reminds me of Corpse Grinder, Cannibal Corpse. It's just a really, really enjoyable album. I absolutely loved it. I really loved it. It was very fun. It was very fun to bang your head. This is like a fun death metal album. I fucking well loved it. How good is that title, Death Courier? Wow. Okay, so I'm very impressed with this album, Necrotic Versus. I will give this an 8.5 out of 10. Now we move on to the albums I have explored. The first album is Riverside, Second Life Syndrome.
Get out of my sight.
Very enjoyable album, really is. Reminds of bands such as Tool. This is like got a Tool-esque vibe. Nice time signatures. Some really awesome moments. It's very spooky and creepy at times, especially the first song on the album. And just the overall drumming is just really good. I love the guitar solos throughout the song. I love his vocals. He incorporates harsher vocals throughout some of these songs, but beautiful, clean, angelic vocals at times. It's overall a very, very cool album. I absolutely adored it. I really enjoy Riverside, to be honest. I really do, because they are something very different in the prog world. They're very different to Dream Theater, very different to Tool, very different to Opeth, very different to Threshold, and so on and so on. For Riverside, Second Life Syndrome, I will give this a 9 out of 10. Then we lead on to Summoning Stronghold. This is a very interesting album overall. I do enjoy it. I just feel that this album is a very long album. It really is. And some of these songs are like, yeah, I could skip a few songs, to be honest. There are some really nice orchestral moments, symphonic feels throughout this album, and it's like an epic black metal album. I enjoy his vocals, and overall I enjoy the atmospheric, ethereal vibe you're getting, and it's pulse pounding at times, but it's an okay album, it really is. So for Summoning Stronghold, I can't give it more than a 7 out of 10. Then we lead on to October Tide, Reign Without End. This is a side project of Catatonia's, and Jonas is on vocals, and believe it or not, he doesn't sing cleanly. He sings raw, he sings guttural, and he sings demonic. His harsh vocals are absolutely incredible and gut-wrenching at times, and I absolutely love it. I love how doomy this album is. The guitar riffs are really good. The drumming is awesome. Some really nice drum fills throughout this album. It's just an overall, just a fun, intense time. It's very atmospheric in tone, and overall it's an intense but yet satisfying album to listen to. For October Tide, Reign Without End, it's an easy 9 out of 10 for me. So then we lead on to Dark Funeral, Vobiscum, Satanas. Ooh, this album is a black metal album. It's intense as anything. There's some really nice melodic moments, really nice guitars, and it's just a really in-your-face black metal album. His vocals are intense as anything, and there's some really nice changes that I absolutely adore throughout this album. And overall, Dark Funeral Vobiscum Satanas will get a 8.5 out of 10. So then we lead on to another Cannibal Corpse album called Skeletal Domain. This album is intense as anything. It's a very fucking fun album. Very fucking fun Cannibal Corpse album that I absolutely adored. Really love the bass work throughout this album, not to mention some really nice guitar riffs and nice chord progression, and how intense and guttural his vocals, Corpse Grinder's vocals are. So for this, I will give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's one of the best. We move on to Amorphis, Elergy.
Outside the cookhouse in the earth, my building lights.
This album is a very interesting album in my opinion. It reminds me of Metallica. When I say Metallica, it reminds me of the Black Album by Metallica, of how different this album by Amorphis is. Certainly incorporate elements of death metal along with prog metal as well. Cleaner vocals throughout this album along with harsher vocals. Some really nice acoustic ballady moments, but not to mention how atmospheric this album feels. This is a very interesting album, very different to an Amorphis album I've heard, and overall it's quite intense in some parts, but I really enjoyed this album for what it is. It's very energetic at times, some really nice guitar moments, and his vocals are very different. Certainly some songs remind me of something out of Metallica, but a good album by Amorphis. Elergy will get to 7.5 out of 10. Then we lead on to Ulcerate, Vermis. This is a dissonant, progressive, technical death metal album, incorporate elements of black metal. Really reminds me of their newer album as well, the same sort of sound, except this is a much more intense album. Also, just keep producing albums that are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed this album, really did, and it's a long album, but it doesn't seem long. And I love albums that are long, but don't seem long, and that's what makes a really good fucking album. For Ulcerate Vermis, I will give this an 8.5 out of 10. Then we lead on to Bathory, their self-titled and debut album. I was expecting black metal, and certainly was the first wave of black metal. It's very thrashy, and his vocals are very good on this album. I just feel that Bathory made other better albums than this one. They made this is better than The Return in my opinion. Nowhere near as good as the other Bathory albums. But yeah, it's an okay album. It's an okay album by Bathory. I do love War, Necromancy. That's a really good song as well. But for Bathory, self-titled, I will give this a 6.5 out of 10. So guys, that's all for Discovery. I hope you did enjoy Discovery for this week. Average albums this week, and below par albums as well. But one album I could recommend you is definitely the Death Courier Necrotic Versus and Currents, the way it ends. Maybe even end Splinters from an Ever-Changing Face if you like bands like Napalm Death or even Now Nathrak. It's a very enjoyable albums, they really are. But some albums were a hit and miss for me, and I gotta be brutally honest that I didn't really enjoy some of these albums that have been on Discovery this week. So guys, I hope you did enjoy Discovery. Join me next week as I give you another handful of recommendations and reviews.